My name is Tyrone O'Sullivan and I'm the chairman of Tower Colliery Limited, but also of Tower Regeneration Limited, the company now working to make differences here.
I'm with Tyrone O'Sullivan, OBE. Tyrone, you were born in 1945,
That's
correct?
right, yes.
So how old are you now?
I'm 73 now next month.
And your wife Elaine and 2 kids?
Yeah, beautiful.
Doing well?
6 grandchildren, yeah.
Lovely.
Very lucky.
You're the Welsh former National Union of Mine Workers NUM branch secretary, current chairman of Goetre Tower
Yes, got your
Limited.
Tower, and, yeah.
Where were you born, Tyrone?
I was born in a little village called Abercwmboi, which is about 6-7 miles from here, just outside Aberdare. Lovely little village by the old furnace plant, you know, lovely lake there. I remember the lakes there, beautiful place.
Where did you go to school?
In Capcoch School, and that was my right opposite the house. Never to worry about catching a bus.
Yeah,
I could
just walk over.
Yeah, probably we were the nearest to the school. No,
Was it a mining community?
very much mining
Was it?
community. Yeah, probably every other street every other house practically, or perhaps every house would have been working either in Penrhyn, Mountain Ash, Deep Dyffryn, Aberhaman, Abercwmboi. You know, there's so many bits about them. When I was
For kids that don't know, we've got Noah, but you know he's 15, 16. I mean, you see the film How Green Is My Valley. That was the kind of the depiction a lot of people had of the coal mining communities or whatever. What was it like? Friendly? Was it a good place?
An incredible place to be, and not only that, because everybody knew everyone. We never locked the doors. I'd go up the street and I tell you, if I misbehaved in the street, my dad and mum would know about it within seconds.
Right.
We didn't have no phones then, but they'd be telling my mum and dad, you know what he's been doing up there, and
Right.
so I'd be very careful, even with girlfriends. But no, I loved it. Behind my house, practically all villages then, you walk out your back door or front door and you would have the mountains or the fields. And you talk about large gardens today, but yeah,
Whole
that's
world.
what it was. I could walk to 3 different lakes within 5 or 6 minutes. I could be on the breast of the mountain and 3 rivers within 5 minutes. I mean, people say about the valleys, they were wonderful places to live.
Looking around here at the countryside, it's stunning. Were the communities matriarchal? Were women playing a very important role then at that time?
Well, it's very difficult to say what you call important. Were they politically involved? I know my mum was a communist,
Yeah.
right, and my dad was Labour. But other than that, you knew who was the boss in the house.
Right.
In my house I did anyway. And I think in my Auntie Levaine's house and my Auntie Dill's house and, you know, Mrs. Jones across the road. The bosses were the women. They run the home, wasn't it? Yeah, the men might have been out there working every day and coming home pretty tired. But the home was run and the discipline was very often by the mum.
How did they deal with people that were, let's just say, they were poor or they had problems, whatever? Did they rally together? Did they come together and give?
Listen, I can tell you, perhaps it's a sort of different example. There wasn't a house that you wouldn't go into if there was a problem. Knock the door and say, Mrs. Go, are you okay? Anything you need? I'm going down the shop for my mum. Do you need anything? That was always there. And another strange thing, we had 2 gay men in the village, right? And there was no nonsense. They went to the club with my mum and dad. They were regulars in the club. A part of the community, you know. We had an American guy, Colcombe, baby left after the war. Perhaps the only black person or black man in Abercwmboi. There wasn't a problem with that. There was none of these stupid racist things that you get today, you know. I don't know, whatever attitude you want to call it.
People were just very accepting of anything.
Yeah, and my dad was an underground worker. An overman, as it turned out in the end. A very hard worker in the beginning. They used to call him Die Slasher because he used to be fast with the shovel. That's what he told me anyway. But he had to learn ambulance when he was in this place of work. So anybody had a bump in the street, they'd come down to my dad's house and say, Di, look, Tom has fallen off the wall or whatever. So you had these things, but he became a part of the community. You talk about councillors today. If you was a union man in the pit, you were either just a committee man, or you were the secretary, or you were the chairman, or you were the treasurer. You could fetch all those skills back to the community. So you could be in the bridging club, the dog club, you know, Because you already knew how to conduct meetings, you already knew how to raise funds. So imagine the difference that makes to the community when you've got these people ready and waiting to organise you. My dad was the secretary of the Pigeon Club. I carried the pigeon clocks many times, So, no, they were incredible places to live.
Your father and your grandfather were coal miners. You would have been a young man when disaster struck at Aberfan as well. Some would have shied away from joining an industry with such a cruel and sort of accident-ridden, ill-health-ridden industry. What drove you to become a miner?
It was automatic from the day I was born, I think. That at 15 years of age, I'd been going down the mine. My dad had been in the mine, my uncles were in the mine. My grandfather had been a miner. My great-grandfather had been a miner. So and the choice I had was I could go to the mine and have £5, 10p. If I went to Burton's, lovely job, just trying on suits, £2.50. The mine up the road was less than a mile away. That's where I went, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. But when you look at, my dad got killed in this colliery here when I was 17. At 21, 3 days before my birthday, I was in Aberfan because I was working in Abergorky Colliery at the time. They had an area works there. We had all the stores you need, Wellingtons, boots, you name it, helmets, everything you needed in Aberfan to dig them poor kids out and the men that did the bodies. We had in Mountain Ash, and at 8 o'clock in the night, they said, "Can you come over? We've got cables to run out and we need electricians." And I was an apprentice at the time, and Fred was an electrician. We went over that night on a Friday night, and we was there Saturday. It was my birthday on Sunday, but I remember Aberfan. But I didn't need Aberfan to teach me about death. After all, I'd lost my dad when I was 17, And again, my great-grandfather David was killed in Mardy Colliery on the 23rd of December 1885, and with him his two sons were killed. The three of them went to work. The two sons under the age of 16 went to work, three of them killed. Imagine that. So my great-grandfather, my great-uncles, that was another generation, and my dad, all killed in the mining industries. So I understood, but it never stopped me, it never doubted that I wanted to be a miner. And even after my dad's death, and I'd lived with this year, my grandfather, great-grandfather, because my grandfather, David, also David Watkins, whenever I said to my grandfather, "Grandpa, I'm going away with the school tomorrow," he used to say to me, "Never plan, boy, never plan." I never understood why he said that, or I'm doing something, never plan, boy. And do you know why he always said that to me? Because his dad and his two brothers were planning a wonderful Christmas Eve in house with a lot of people in the village coming to celebrate Christmas with them. They go to work and they never come home. And, that's one of the things that perhaps people... My mum, it taught me an incredible lesson losing my dad. Because my mum once said to me, "Do you know, Ty, what I miss the most? I never had a chance to say my goodbyes. I never had a chance to say, Ty, I'm sorry for something." And he said, "That's what happens when you lose them like that." But I also lived with my mum, and I seen the sorrow and the hurt. And as my job as a branch secretary, I understood when I had to go see a widow, or see a widow when her husband had died, and vice versa. It taught me how to deal with people under the most, difficult circumstances. To look at a couple of pictures with them. Don't talk about pension and coal and all those other things. Talk about the person first, and then come on to it. So, even in death, my dad taught me an incredible lesson.
Did they rally round for you as a family? Did the sec come and visit you? Did you have all that then, and they were looked after for a while, or?
We had all that, but we weren't looked after because there was a fall in the face. And my dad, as overman, was a safety man's job, had to go in and assess it. When he was in there, a second fall came. He pushed the man with him out of it, saved his life, and my dad got buried and smothered. And they said it was an act of God. How was that an act of God when you're underground dealing with circumstances? So we had a lot less than what people may have expected, because it is classed as an act of God.
Jim Griffiths is quoted as saying that the MP for Llanelli, that the only people he ever disliked, and this was a huge, lifetime spanning and meeting all these people, were the owners of the anthracite mines. Were they bad people? Were they, some of them?
Well, it's very difficult for me to say that. Remember, because I only worked under British Coal.
Mm.
And under British Coal, I had some excellent managers, and I had some terrible managers. But I never had to... It was like a discipline. Whenever I went in to meet the manager, even when I'd been the branch secretary for 20 years, if I had a hat, and I didn't have a hat, I would take it off before I went in. So, because they'd always say, take your hat off. It was expected to take your hats off when you entered the room with them. But I never did that. I never wore a hat. But I would take them off. I don't want aggravation if I want things for the men. Yeah, I've had difficult managers. I was sacked twice. Once for knocking off a machine underground, which I thought could have caused a fire. And another time because I disobeyed some rules about working on the weekend, where the union had agreed to work the weekend, and I said, no, we're not working. So I was sacked on both occasions. So, difficult managers, but also some of the best managers I've ever had. I had, the last two managers we had in Tower, I worked very well with, so.
You were the branch secretary of the MEM. You had, you became a flying picket, or you lead in the flying pickets as well, during the strikes of the 70s. What was it like at that time for, it was pretty, looking at the scenes on the TV with the police charging the miners and fighting for your lives to keep surviving, within the mines. What was it like as a community? Were there partitions? Were there divisions?
I don't think any Welsh Valleys had partitions. Again, they tell me during the 1926 strike, it's been different, right? But in the strikes, where there was 69 hours on strike, 72 hours on strike, 74 hours on strike, 79 hours on strike, and 82 hours on strike, and 84, 85 hours on strike. We never had those things in our communities, because where I've lived, we've never had a person going back to work. The only person who went back to work in Tower was somebody from another pit who they had transferred to Tower during the strike. And that man, in his innocence, had gone to work because the manager told him he's got to come and sign on. Crazy. No, it's... Look...
There's a lot of unity
we loads of unity. Right? Remember now, miners are very difficult people. We're strong. We're physically stronger than, say, dealing with people working in an office or something else. So the police found it very difficult to handle us. Because we would take a policeman on one-to-one. So what did they do? They had to double up, didn't they? So often you'd find yourself always outmaneuvered with the police. They had more police. They talked about, I remember one guy saying, well, it's like the Zulus. I said, yeah, different is. I said, they are the Zulus. But they got downside more than us bloody British soldiers, isn't it? Or Welsh soldiers from the film The Zulu, isn't it? That's what they were quoting. But it was the opposite. We were the poor old Welsh soldiers, and the amount of police there in the blue suits were the Zulus. No, they were, because they were difficult times. I remember being in Merthyr Vale, and this cop I called on him and started hitting me. So I turned around, I hit him, and got on top of him. And I didn't hit him, I just got on top of him and held him, and one of the sergeants, police sergeant, a guy called Michael Huzzy, big friend of mine, played soccer together. I could hear him shouting, "Leave him up, Tyrone, leave him up!" And I got off him, and Mike said to me, "Ty, go to one side." He could have arrested me. I said, "See this? That's what he hit me." So there's them examples, and then there's the nasty examples when some of my boys were taken in for no reason. Just dragged off the bloody floor into the back of a van and taken in. Remember, I was in Orgreave, in all those wild places. When we went to Orgreave, there was 42 on my bus. The bus was full. At the end of the day, everybody on my bus was blooded and bleeding, or ripped clothes. right? Because it was a hard battle. Again, the priest found it difficult to handle us. If you see the pictures, you know, they'd open up these shields, they'd be beating these shields, bang, 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 bang. Then they'd open up and the horses would come out. Why the horses got bigger than us? You know, and they would come and run amongst us, breaking us up. And then the priest would come behind. You know, it was well organized. But they always found it difficult because we were so strong, you know.
What did you say to the miners as the Secretary then, South Wales Region? What did you say to them to inspire them to go and support the Yorkshire miners? Because there was there was a decision to be made, wasn't there? There were debates to be had.
There was. When we had a debate down in Bridgend, the conference actually voted not to go on strike. Because they said that when the strike, when we were on strike, when 5 pits were out in South Wales, right, Yorkshire didn't come and support us. But they did. We were out for 5 days. I was up in Yorkshire on Thursday talking to Yorkshire pits. What happened was, Kent, Scotland, they were waiting for South Wales to go out on strike. They couldn't do nothing. It took our decision. What did? We go down. Thatcher had promised us the world. We go down. We vote in Bridgend to go back to work. I voted, and my pit voted not to go back to work. But people use the excuse, well, Nottingham didn't help us, Yorkshire didn't help us. Why should we help them now that they have 5 pits threatened? Crazy. I came back home that day, and I phoned the president of the National Union Mine Workers and said, Emlyn, that decision is wrong. We should be out supporting the Yorkshire miners. He said, Tyrone, do what you like, but don't tell me. And that night, I went out and I phoned people. Tim Howells was one, and he can deny what he likes. I said, I want to meet you in the morning. Saturday morning came up in Irvine. And we had 7 pits attended. The 7 pits were voted to go on strike. And we met in Irvine, and we said, right, as I'm from Monday, we're out picketing. And that's what we did. We went back home, organised buses, found out what pits are. We had my stake, we did. In fact, we had 2 pits, my stake and Merthyr. And I went over my stake. And within seconds of landing there, the men wanted to come out on strike. They couldn't understand how their officials had taken decisions like that. So, you know, so the people, the miners wanted to come on strike. It was the officials misled them to believe in that Yorkshire didn't do all they should have done. When I know Yorkshire was on the end of a phone waiting to come up with us. So, you know, that's what happened in the beginning of the 84-85 miners' strike.
Tyrone, it sounds like there was a lot of organising, as you say, a lot of strategies and tactics. Were there others who contributed to your plan? I mean, you weren't alone in this, but were there good strategists? How did you kind of organise?
Well, first of all, Tower Colliery is a well-known colliery, well organised. More people voted to go on strike with us. We went out early during the strike. We didn't abide by the rules set up. You know, we wouldn't have let substitution. In fact, we were out strike a week earlier in 84, 85 and in earlier strikes. But we wouldn't allow substitutions. Of course, I was very lucky in Tower. There were some great people in Tower Colliery. You know, we were a good lodge, an active lodge. We were active with the problems, solidarity in Poland, South Africans, you name it. Tower was in the forefront supporting many issues. We sat in hospitals in Aberdare and held them for a week to stop them closing. We went down to Talagan and done the same there. We weren't just coal miners, we were community miners, and we wanted to help. So Tower had a good name. I won the vote, standing here. I won the vote 100% to go out on strike.
How many men were you then?
340. Right. Before I went down to Bridgend, my men told me which way they wanted me to vote. So, yeah, but of course they were strategists. Mind you, all the strategy came from the workers. You take it from me. I know Kim Howells supposed to be head of strategy, and the executive council members at the time. The only time I seen them was in brand new shoes, sitting around in cars. Right? I never seen them on the picket lines. You know, so who was the strategist?
Yeah.
We were, the ordinary working people, whether it was Khyber Colliery, collieries down the west, collieries down the east. It was the workers themselves who were the powerhouses. not so much the leaders. Take it from me. And I'll say that any time. Whereas I seen Scargill always a leader. I never found the same sort of leadership in South Wales.
You said you knew at the time that the strike, that the private home telephone had been bugged by MI5. Knowing what you know now about other people's lives which have been intruded upon, have you come to terms with what happened? And have you drawn a line under that? Or is it all there ready to be called upon in any future events?
So, look, I'm one of those lucky ones. Tower Crowley was the last deep mine in Wales. We were only closed for 8 months, then we bought it. So I haven't got the same bitterness as many hundreds in other pits who never worked another day after they lost their pit. They never found another hour's work. So their memories are different. I seen victories. Yeah, we lost the miners' strike. We weren't defeated. We didn't march back to work with drums. We went back to work quietly. And the day we returned to work? Do you know where I was? I was up in Raleigh, Scotland. Because we'd promised to march up there. And I had 50 other people up in Islington. Because I had promised them to go to a march. So, I was in Liverpool. I had a busload in Liverpool. I had a busload up in Islington. On the day when everybody else marched back to work. They couldn't work Tower. Because 100 of us were in other places. But so you've got to understand, I haven't got the same regrets. People come on to me now, friends I've known for 30 years. And they say, do you remember them days? I say, of course I do. I've lived them with you. But remember, I've also worked in Tower. And I've had full employment ever since. So it's different.
You mentioned that, the regrets, and that you spent a lot of time away from home and the family, Tyrone. Do you any regrets there?
I think if I hadn't included my wife in as much as I could, because Elaine come and spoke on many occasions, right? If I hadn't, because I was out picketing early in the morning, I was back home by 8, and I would take my kids to school. They were only like 6 and 7, and I'd go in the school with them, and I'd play with the clay. And the teacher would say, look, Mr. O'Sullivan, you've got to go home now. So would I have had them times if I wasn't on strike? So, yes, I spent time away on pickets. 3 or 4 days a week I may be away picketing, right? But at the end of the day, my family was a part of me. And I shared more then. I found sometimes I had more time with them than if I'd been working. So, perhaps I was very lucky. I was in a great marriage. And I was able to go into the school with my children, so yeah, I'm lucky.
The stereotypical image of the Welsh woman not so long ago was of this housewife stuck at home with kids while the man went off to earn a crust. When did that stereotype become shattered for you, and do you ever see a day when these roles are equal, or do we have that day now?
I'm not sure we have that day exactly at the moment. I think we moved miles towards it. I've never felt any different, because during the miners' strike and in my work at the labour movement, I've always found women to be my equal. I found them as active on a picket line or anywhere else. My wife have never been slow to come forward. Elaine could talk to a room full of people, the 2 kids sitting by her side, she talks the same politics. Elaine worked in Cardiff. But, before we were married, my wife worked down in Cardiff. The difference it made to her life, right, was incredible. She even dressed differently. So I think the women let it go a bit after the miners' strike. And that's a shame. Slowly, well, I was not slowly, I think rapidly now, they're getting that confidence back. And you should never have lost it. Why are they still paid differently today? 34 years on. So we haven't won the case yet for them. But I also know this. All people I met in the strike were my equals. Never mind what their sexual views were, whether male, female, whatever. Gay, lesbian, didn't matter. They were your equals and always will be. So, no, it's... I think we can make it a better world. And I think as kids can make this world different. I think we had to go at it, and then we allowed it all to slump back. defeat of the miners practically defeated the working class. Because no one came forward, whether it is Unity and Light, none of them took up the challenge of the Stag of the Earth, which the NUM were. We led from the front, not from the back. So, but I see things coming better. I see kids today with their iPads and phones. They can talk to people in France, in Spain, in Germany. They can speak to the world. And once they realize that their vote is as equal as the Prime Minister's vote, right? Or the King and Queen if they voted, their vote has got the same power as anyone in the country or in the world. And once they understand that, they will create a better world. And that's where I'm still active in the Labour Party, right? I'm still active in my politics. I'm still active in the trade union movement. I've spoken 4 times on platforms in the last month. You know, from Leslie to Anisabol to Swansea. I still believe that you were given nothing in life. The politicians, no matter who they are, will give you nothing. Whatever you want in life, you've got to go out and fight for it. So that's my position, and I'm not going to stop. And I believe women can be the most important factor. Because once they come on outside, we've doubled our numbers, haven't we?
There was a lot of violence used against the miners, but some also say a lot of violence used against the police and those who broke the strikes. What's your view on the use of violence in strikes and protests? Was it necessary?
I've never come across, now this is truthfully now, I've never come across a miner who punched first. I've never come across a miner who used a stick or a truncheon. I've never come across a miner who kicked a policeman when he was down. Yeah, in Orgreaves, it was rough, and we had to fight back. We had no choice. We had to fight back, because they come at us with everything. They dragged us in to a dead end, and then lined up all around us. If we hadn't fought, there'd been even more blood on the carpet. I don't like violence. I don't know a miner who does like violence. We've seen enough of that underground in our lives. But don't ever doubt that a miner won't stand up for himself, because they technically don't fear anyone. I mean, the reason, I'll just say this, the reason we could control the right and the rallies, when we were 240,000 miners, if the right wing and these nutters, Nazis, were marching in Cardiff and they had 200, we were 200 miners there. And you take it from me, who was the most powerful then. Because we were scared of no one. So if there was 200 right-wing lunatics there, you put 200 miners this side. But we would do it. You know, are Unite going to do it? Are any of the unions going to do it? We were there to fight for the class we belong to. So, you know, that's why it's a tragedy. And that's why Thatcher took us on. That's why Kinnock didn't support us. Because we were the one vanguard of the working class who was starting to change society. We were supporting the black South African. We were supporting the people in Venezuela who were taking over the dictatorships. We were supporting the world. Right? We were out there fighting for a different world. That's what terrified the Tories. That's what terrified Kinnock. Here was a group of workers, well organized, without the banner there. They knew where we were going. And the 70s, we were changing the world.
Was there any point at all where, I mean, you're looking at when, you know, it was announced that your publicity campaign to save the money had failed there, was there a point that you were thinking, we have to admit defeat here, boys, we have to accept resign ourselves to what's going to happen?
Well, on the conference when we come back to work, I voted not to return, right? And again, about 6 pits voted not to return. But I admitted defeat from the very beginning. Because unless you know when you're defeated, you never know when to start fighting back again. But the one thing I know, and the government understood, and British Coal understood, don't close Tower Colliery as the first pit. Because if you close them, they'll be back out on strike within a week, and they'll drag others with them. Because at the end of the miners' strike, British Coal produced a league table, first, second, third, and fourth division. The fourth division, the 2 bottom pits, were St. John's and My Stake, and Tower Colliery. And we were bottom not because we weren't good workers, but we produced a lot of coal, but because we would never stop a person coming here from another pit. Do you know what? Some pits took decisions not to take men from other pits closing because they put the costs up on their pit and could close their pit. We said, no, we're not having that. Anyone who wants to stay and work and they want to come to Tower can come. And because of that, we had more manpower than what we needed, and because of that, our costs were more. But from a position of the second worst mine in Britain, I'm telling you, the Coal Board feared us. Don't go for them, because they'll be back out on strike. Because of that, I come back to work here at this very pit. I had a new manager, a heroin man, Brian Williams. To come back to the pit for the local man in charge was very advantageous. Because he didn't want the pit to close, did he? He was the manager, but he didn't want the pit to close. And in that first year, together, we started to put Tower on the map. And by the next year and the next, eventually you had to go with an argument. But Tower then became a very profitable pit, producing more coal than anybody else. And that's because the workers were good. I also tell the men, right, and I say to any youngsters today, if you want to be active in miners' strikes, first of all, be good at the job you do. Because if you're good at the job you do, they miss you when you're on strike. But if you're useless at the job you do, they don't mind you going on strike because you're useless anyway. So first of all, be good at the job you do, and then they miss you when you go on strike. And Tower was like that. And because of that attitude, we ended up... Could I have believed that I would be the last branch secretary in Wales? And I say it was a huge honour for me to be the last NUM branch secretary in Wales. Fancy being that. Who would have thought that 200 years before? That was indeed a tragedy, but an honour. And to think that 8 months later, we would walk back to this pit as owners. The only workers-owned mine anywhere in the world owned by the workers. It's never been done before and it'll never be done again. When the workers themselves own the coal mine. So in life, you get out of it what you put in. Or there's no shame in failing, only in never having tried. And I say to kids today when I go to school, you can't always pass your exams, but don't fail them because you haven't tried. You try your best, and if you only get 10 marks, that's because you tried your best. And I think that's important in life, and I've always believed that, So I have no regrets. I don't hate anybody. It's a tragedy what Thatcher did to mining communities, a tragedy. Right? Not only that, Thatcher and Reagan changed the world, set it back 30 years. I hope in the next 20 years we overcome all that and create a society when 5% of the world population owns 95% of the wealth. The time has come for us to distribute wealth. And what we've got to know is this. There's enough wealth in the world for no one to be in poverty. For no one can't have an airlip. No one to have their eyes done. No one should have to be drinking dirty water. There's enough wealth in the world for all that to be sorted. So, that's the world we want. I'm saying to youngsters today, you can have that world, but you've got to get off your backside and stop moaning.
Some might say you were slightly mad to want to buy a mine and go back to what other people considered one of the worst jobs in the world. What drove you, Tyrone? Was it financially, or was it all about the community and knowing that if you hadn't done that, the unemployment rate would have shot up 40% almost of the people in the area would have been on the dole?
Cunningham Valley was 40%. That's how much he was going to lose if Tower closed. It did nothing at all. Listen, I worked here since 1967. The pit closed in 1994. All that time, I knew exactly what the pit was about. They weren't closing Tower because it was useless, it couldn't make a profit. They were closing Tower for somebody else's benefit. And when I went to the men, and I just tell you a little story. The day they closed Tower Colliery, I had to go down to Newport, Celtic Manor, and sat in a room there, me and 5 of the guys, and they said to us, I'm sorry, Tower's got to close. The last deep mine in Wales, it's got to close because your pit is geologically faulted, but even if it wasn't, nobody wants to buy your coal. The biggest lies I've ever heard in my life. We're going to close the pit. I told them, I've never heard such bull in my life. They offered me a cup of tea afterwards. We got up and we walked out. And on the way home, I was driving, I stopped the car and I cried. Because after all, my dad had worked here. We were losing everything. And we went to a pub in Aberdare, 5 of us. I said, let's get our wives and kids here. And that's what we did. We phoned them and they come and joined us in the pub in Aberdare. And that night, us 5 decided, why don't we buy Tower ourselves? And that's when we decided what to do. From there, we went to the workforce, asked them, would you support us? And they did. We asked them for £2,000 each, and they did. And within 2 days, we had something like £390,000 ready to fight for the pit. That's to show we were serious. And after that, it's history. The things we did, you know, I went up to London, met John Redwood, appointed our own solicitors, financial advisors. The financial advisors cost me £195,000. We paid £12.5 million for the pit. No, it was, I just wanted to prove. And remember, around me, people say to me often, Ty, you're a marvellous general. I'd say to them, look, I may have been a reasonably good general, but I've had the finest army the world have ever seen in Tower. And it's all about that. You know, what did we do the first 3 years? We made £4 million clear profit each year, paid the government back £2 million each year. That's £6 million, £18 million profit. We shook the world. Nobody believed that miners could run a business. They was expecting after 6 months to come up to me and say, oh, you're lovely boys, you're miners, but don't try to run a business, we're no good in it. We broke all their myths, right? All of a sudden, miners weren't dull people with black faces who could only sing in choirs.
Yeah.
We could make a difference. So, you know, never regretted one moment. We done it because we wanted to do it. We wanted to prove we could run a mine. I mean, some people said, Ty, you'll never get it. Well, I said, we're going to try. You know, Arthur Scargill was asked, why don't you do the same as the boys? No, Arthur came to the pit. The last pit Arthur Scargill visited before the strike was Tower. The first pit he voted after the strike was Tower. So, you know, that meant something to me. And when Arthur came here, he was asked, why didn't you get them all to buy their own pit then? Arthur said, but Tower's different. Tower's a workers' buyout, you know, we can't all do it. Anyway.
Ty, to the politics now. You've been a Labour Party member since you were 16. You make no secret of your support for Jeremy Corbyn. You spoke at his visit to the LC2. I remember listening to you there. How significant a part do you think that your support and that of the ordinary working man and woman played in re-electing him as a leader against the wishes of a lot of the rank-and-file Labour politicians?
I think the rank-and-file have been waiting a long, long time for us to have a socialist leading the Labour Party. And the one thing Jeremy proved immediately, that he was a socialist. And I think the Labour Party have been waiting a long, long time. When Blair came to power, we thought we had done it. I know we had lost John, the Scots boy, isn't it?
Yeah.
We'd lost him. And I think he would have made a huge difference. John Smith, if he had lived. Right? He didn't, he died. So we then had Blair. Now we thought, first of all, settle down. Second year, make changes. Third year, we'll destroy the Tories forever. They'll never ever come back. Did we do that? We didn't. Iraq, the war. A lot of left-wing ordinary supporters left the Labour Party. We'd had enough they had. I hadn't, because I believe in fighting from the inside always. But what happens? We have Jeremy coming on. From the moment he opened his mouth the first time, and I've known Jeremy for 32 years, you could see he was a man who made a difference. There was a man that fought for the people. There was a man whose honesty came out every word he said.
Mm.
And when I look at the strength now of the Labour Party membership, it's incredible.
Do you think it shocked people?
Oh, it shocked the right-wingers. It shocked the Kinnicks of this world. It shocked the Blairs of this world.
Yeah.
It didn't shock people like me who've waited 50 years for a left-wing socialist. You know, a bit more than that even. You know, and for Jeremy to come along now, I honestly believe that Jeremy will make a huge difference when we win the next election. And if we get Mark as leader of the Welsh Assembly, Mark Rayford, all of a sudden we will have two socialists who've made a difference in their own lives besides being politicians.
Do you think, though, there's been a hidden agenda keeping him back or trying to oust him and get him out? Do you think there's a lot of pressure coming from people who have nothing to do with the Labour Party, possibly the media in particular, maybe? How do you see that? Is it balanced or is it a bit unfair?
Nothing balanced about it. People in power, remember where they come from, are terrified of socialism. They're terrified of sharing wealth. They're terrified about ordinary people having any power at all. They're terrified about reasonable wages, right? Good health service. They're terrified of it. That's why all these people are climbing out of their holes, right? I call them snakes, because the way they're hissing all the time, you can see them hissing. They're terrified of socialism. And when people say, oh, it fails, socialism have never been tried. Communism has been tried, but never socialism. Socialism, as soon as the baby gets in the pram, they kill the baby. And that's happened for 100 years. They fear it so much. But that's what the people like about him.
Do you believe the party's moving closer to socialism now than it's ever been?
Ever been in this history. You can go back to the first MP, you can go back to 1926, all those times.
Do you think people confuse it, socialism and communism? Do you think they've confused the two?
I don't think people do. Right? I don't think people do. I think the right wing try to confuse it.
Try to muddy the waters.
Oh, muddy. I mean, every moment you get up, I don't put television on anymore.
He's a communist, he's anti-Semite,
I'm crazy. Once you understand what's going on in Palestine with the Jewish leaders, you've got to try to defend the Palestinians. You've got to. You don't defend their bombing and other things they've done, very few of them. But you've got to defend the politicians as a nation. You know, you should be allowed to say those things. You know,
you've sort of alluded to it, but do you ever see a day where we'll have someone in the position of Prime Minister who reverts back to a system which aims to alleviate poverty, promote education, employment for all, with equality at the heart of their manifesto and their political belief? Do you see that day coming?
Oh, that day is coming. Whether that person, wherever he may be at the moment, first time round will be able to achieve that is a different matter. I think we've still got to wait for a younger Jeremy Corbyn. Or I believe a young female with the powers of Jeremy Corbyn, similar to the powers of Thatcher and the right wing, if that could come and be the next person we got, I think we will see socialism in Britain. And I then believe that socialism in Britain need not greed will then affect people in France, people in Spain, people all over the world can understand that sharing wealth is not a bad thing. Sharing wealth is a good thing. And I believe we can set that example. Now, there's no quick fixes in life. No. It's not going to happen next year. It's not going to happen perhaps in the first 5 years that Jeremy Corbyn is in power. But we then put in place the bridges that then gives socialism the chance to prove itself.
Do you think that with devolution and the Welsh Assembly as the champion of the Welsh people, we were led to believe it would be?
It isn't.
Has it achieved that
yet? The tragedy is always get the power as close to the people as you can. That's why I still believe in local authorities, whether they should be as big as they are. I still believe in Welsh Assembly, or the Welsh Government now. Get them, you know. But the Welsh Government hasn't done as well as it could have done. And I believe most of all that Carwyn has been the biggest failure. That
it's a long time to do anything, isn't it? 17, 20, almost 20 years?
Yeah. I mean, Carwyn in particular has failed us. I think Rodri was still finding his way.
Do you see Plaid now as becoming more aligned with socialism then? They're talking in a different way, looking at the sovereignty and a republic or a nationalised sort of a state where a lot of the messages coming from the end, they seem to be coming from that background, don't they?
No, listen, I think Pride have always been a socialist organisation, right? Very near to the people. But they've got to understand that until you can get 46 candidates of the candidates of the quality of the top 3 or 4, you cannot run a government.
No.
And if you don't control the government, you can't get over all, you know.
I mean, some would say it's almost better to throw your hat in the room with the others, wouldn't they? You know, why don't you just all come together as a Welsh party? And here we go.
Yeah.
More chance in Westminster, much better cohesive, government in Wales. Why have we got these battles over what? What are the differences?
I don't think there are real differences between the people themselves.
No.
Right? I think the Welsh language can be very cruel at times, right? And when I see the Welsh language used as a weapon against non-speakers, that's when they're at their worst. That's when they are stopping the opportunities of the politicians achieving all they want, because they take advantage of it and ignore people who don't speak. I am not a Welsh speaker. I'm 25% Irish. But as I said when I was in New York, I'm 100% Welsh, and you would add the Irish on top, right? I want the best politicians to be sitting in our government in Wales and in the UK. Now, Plaid, I've got some talented people. They've either got to learn to work and build over a period of time and not make enemies by using the Welsh language as a weapon. I think Leanne's a very clever woman. I do, right? I think the guy standing against her for the leadership, what's his name?
Price and Rena Purvis.
Good people. A lot to offer the Welsh nation, right? But unless they get their house in order, I know I can produce 27 good Labour candidates. I can always produce enough people to run a government. But I would still love good people, not UKIP, mind you, right? I wouldn't want any of them to come into this. But as far as Pride are concerned, start off with producing 3 or 4 great people. Then we unite in a Welsh government. Then show them examples. But you won't do it unless we continue with these bloody stupid arguments and undermining.
One last question. Let's turn to religion. Then, are you a believer?
I go to church every Sunday.
You talk about that man who's going to come along, and would that be him? Would that be somebody like JC coming along? They call him JC. Jeremy call him JC.
I've got no doubts in my life, right? The church is still a comfort to a lot of people in the world. And if it's a comfort to a lot of people, I don't believe in destroying that faith. If people can go to church every Sunday and walk out of there and believe that they're better because of it, that they believe there's a life waiting for them beyond death, I will never ever destroy that. Me, I don't believe there was a virgin birth. I don't believe he died and come off the cross. I do believe there was a man called Jesus who had the ability to make people believe in themselves. Not a miracle worker, but a person who understood perhaps the power of the brain in healing yourself. So to that end, same as Nelson Mandela, fantastic person. Gandhi, fantastic person. There are people that comes into your life that are something special. And I believe there was a man called Jesus. They had to give him a virgin birth because ordinary people don't understand. If he was ordinary birth, he couldn't be pure. And they had to make him a king because everybody thinks kings have got blue blood, don't they? We were taught that until I was about 22. So, yeah, they had to make him a king. They had to give him a virgin birth. But I believe without them things, he was a very clever person. And I don't want to, I was chairman of All Saints Church in Swansea in the fundraising now, 700,000, to make sure the church is there for the next 100 years. And I feel good about that. Because I know hundreds, if not thousands of people will find comfort within their walls. So it's not being anti-Christian, because I go every week. But I go for different reasons, you know. So I would never, ever destroy something against people. JC, it's the right initials. I don't think Jeremy thinks he's that person, right? But it's a hell of a conclusion, isn't it?
Yeah.
If Jeremy gets elected, leads this country as Prime Minister, and creates the differences that we've been talking about, that is a real miracle for ordinary working people. So let's see where it goes.
Right. Ron Sullivan, thank you very much for speaking to me. Lovely meeting you.
I enjoyed it.
Thank you.